All right, let's dive right in. Welcome, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer. Today, we're going to objectively map out a truly fascinating framework straight from the teachings of Life-Shen Yuan and its founder, the guide Xu We're looking at a text called The Ladder of Human Thinking, and it presents a pretty bold philosophical premise, the idea that our consciousness, and literally our consciousness alone, entirely dictates our reality. It's a highly structured, step-by-step way of looking at existence, and I just can't wait to break it down for you.
Okay, let's dive into this with a wildly provocative question straight out of Shuofeng's writings. What do a pig with 10 mansions and a human billionaire have in common? Well, according to the Life-Shen Yuan worldview, the answer is that neither of their fundamental existences are changed by their material wealth. Think about it. A pig, even if you give it 10 luxurious mansions and a mountain of the finest feed, is still, at its absolute core, a pig. And a human being, even if they have 10 stunning villas and billions of dollars in the bank, they're still just a human being.
So, the crucial point is that in this philosophy, our core reality and our ultimate future destinations are dictated entirely by our paradigm of thought, definitely not our worldly possessions. As this quote directly from the text points out, the primary goal of life isn't the accumulation of material goods. Instead, it's the active, deliberate transformation of how we think. It's all about an internal shift rather than an external one. Moving into Section 1, Thinking Defines Your Existence.
This brings us to the first major concept of these teachings. Let's look at how Shuofeng categorizes literally all beings in the universe purely by their state of mind. The text asserts that the essential difference between any two entities comes down to their thinking. For instance, it states Jesus is considered a god simply because his thinking aligns with a god's. Shakyamuni is a Buddha because he possesses Buddha's thinking. Muhammad has a saint's thinking, and Lao Tzu has a sage's thinking, but it goes even further into the natural world. The teachings propose that if a person learns from animals, over time they will actually descend into an animal. On the flip side, if a fox somehow gained human thinking, it would become a fox spirit. And remarkably, if even a simple pine tree possessed the thoughts of a Buddha, that tree could actually become a Buddha. It is entirely about the mind.
Because existence is defined this way, the text creates a really stark contrast between a worldly person and a divine being. According to Xu, even if an ordinary human possesses immense earthly wealth, we're talking treasures, prominent status, ultimate power, a whole group of wives, higher beings like gods, Buddhas, or celestials would never ever want to trade places and become that ordinary human. Why? Because a lower state of thinking is inherently undesirable to a being operating at a much higher state.
And this brilliantly illustrates the vivid juxtapositions Xu uses to explain why higher-level spiritual beings fundamentally reject ordinary materialistic pursuits. It's like how a bee completely disdains what a fly finds sweet, or how a mythical phoenix would literally rather die than settle for an eagle's nest on a cliff. A being with elevated thinking naturally repels the basic material desires of the earthly world.
Section 2. The 8 Rungs of Thought.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the core architecture of the Life-Shen Yuan teachings. It's a literal, metaphorical ladder of consciousness that followers, referred to in the text as academicians, are instructed to climb. Xu doesn't just casually say, hey, try to think better. No, he challenges his followers to systematically ascend specific, meticulously defined cognitive steps, stating, I have divided human thinking into 8 rungs on this ladder. I encourage you, as academicians, to ascend these rungs step by step. Let's walk through this complete 8-step framework. Notice how the text actually grounds these esoteric concepts by linking specific historical figures to each rung. At level 1, we have material thinking, which basically characterizes the general public. Level 2 is image thinking, achieved by artists like Beethoven. Level 3 is associative thinking, the realm of brilliant scientists like Einstein. Level 4 is illusory thinking, held by prophets, magicians, and figures like Zhu Zhilain. Then we cross a major threshold into the divine. Level 5 is visualized thinking, reached by Muhammad. Level 6 is Taiji thinking, reached by Lao Tzu. Level 7 is formless thinking, the realm of the Buddha. And finally, level 8 is holographic thinking, which the text attributes to God, and specifically to Xu himself. Let's move to our next section and see how this builds. Ascending to divine thinking. So as we transition from the lower earthly rungs up toward the required spiritual levels for Xu Feng's followers, what does it actually take to climb?
Well, the instructions for Lifechan Yan academicians are remarkably strict. The requirement isn't just to slowly evolve through the lower levels, it's to completely abandon the first 4 rungs. This means that in this framework, even the brilliant associative thinking of an Einstein or the illusory magic of a prophet, all of it must be left entirely behind. Followers are instructed to bypass those and directly enter level 5.
So what exactly is level 5? It's called visualized thinking. The text defines this as the entry-level divine mindset, previously reached by figures like Muhammad. According to the source material, this specific state is the direct spiritual entry point Shufen requires his academicians to target first on their journey upward. It's step 1 of the divine phase.
Once at level 5, followers aim for level 6, Taiji thinking. This is the sage thinking reached by Laozi. Now, Xuefeng specifically instructs his followers that to gradually grasp this higher level of consciousness, they must thoroughly study and understand the ancient Chinese text, the Tao Te Ching. So it's very much a directed, study-based ascension.
Next up is level 7, formless thinking. This is Buddha's thinking, tied to the study of the Diamond Sutra. And actually, I want to slow down and pause here for a second because this is absolutely crucial. This is a monumental gateway level in the text. The source material states unequivocally that if you reach the realm of formless thinking, you can literally become a Buddha. It represents a profound spiritual elevation.
Finally, we reach the apex, level 8, holographic thinking. The text describes this as a state ordinary people cannot even begin to imagine, the highest realm of God's thinking. Shufen claims to personally operate at this ultimate 8th level. According to his writings, it is this exact state of holographic thinking that grants him his complete understanding of the greatest creator, the origins of life in the universe, and the 36 dimensions of space.
Which brings us to our final section, the ultimate spiritual destination.
As we wrap up our mapping of this philosophical climb, we have to look at the end game. Why climb the ladder at all? Well, this brings us to the ultimate afterlife goals laid out for the academicians. The text establishes an ironclad rule. Your destination after death is judged entirely by the precise state of thinking you occupy at the very moment you die. If your thinking throughout your life, up to your death, is similar to an animal's, the text states it is completely certain you will be reincarnated as an animal. But if the state of your thinking at death is that of a saint, it dictates that you will ascend to a higher life space.
And for the followers of Shufen, there is a very specific paradise waiting. The text explicitly describes that reaching level 7, formless thinking, is the one and only pathway for followers to access their ultimate spiritual destination, a realm the text refers to as the Celestial Islands continent.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today mapping out this fascinating philosophy. We've explored how Shufen builds a universe where material wealth means practically nothing, and the state of your mind means absolutely everything. So I want to leave you with this introspective question to chew on. If your existence truly is defined by your thoughts, which rung of the ladder do your daily thoughts occupy right now? Are you lingering at level 1, or are you climbing higher? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.